Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening, everyone. First tonight, the Liberal state government is in crisis after another shock resignation. Former Minister for Police, Fire and Emergency and for Women, Jackie Petrusma, leaving for personal and family reasons. It's the fourth exit in only 6 months, leaving many wondering what's going on in Cabinet.
A fierce champion for women and families steps back. Jackie Petrusma resigning from State Parliament.
I will miss her. Jackie has been a great friend to me. She has delivered with compassion. She has delivered with empathy.
In a statement, Ms Petrusma says it was a challenging decision, but it is the right one for her family. She spent 12 years as member for Franklin, most recently serving as Minister for Police, Fire and Emergency Services, Parks and Environment and Family Violence, delivering improvements to specialist family and sexual violence services, a statewide action plan and a commitment to non-fatal strangulation laws.
I wish her the very, very best, and I thank her sincerely for her hard work.
The Liberal Cabinet has now suffered 4 resignations in the past 6 months.
This is a government that is nothing like the government Tasmanians elected last year, and unfortunately we have got significant pressures facing our economy and a government that's too weak to address them.
That the image of instability lasts, and what the government does subsequently is gauged against that instability.
3 of those resignations from women.
The problem for the Liberal Party is that women seem to struggle. Getting women and giving them the support to stay in office should be on the Liberal Party's agenda.
Braddon MP Felix Ellis has been promoted to Cabinet, saying he's humbled by the opportunity to serve his community. He'll take over the vacated role of Police, Fire and Emergency, as well as skills, training and workforce, and critically, resources.
This is the same Mr Ellis, who when we raise matters that independent scientists have researched, or when we talk about climate in the Tasmanian Parliament, he sneers and he mocks us.
The lack of depth across the Liberal Party team is evident, with members being dragged from the backbenches who were only elected on a recount themselves.
I believe that Felix, very strongly, I believe that Felix will make an outstanding contribution to our Cabinet and bring in fresh eyes.
But to stop a future exodus of MPs, there are more calls for one solution: expanding the Parliament.
When you give an individual 4, 5 or 6 weighty portfolios, the workload will ultimately destroy them.
State political reporter Josh Duggan joins us now from Parliament House. Josh, who will fill the seat vacant now that's in the House of Assembly?
Kim, there'll be a recount of Jackie Petrusma's votes from last year's state election. We're expecting it's one of the 3 Liberal candidates who missed out that will eventually take her seat. Dean Young has told 7 Tasmania News he will contest the recount. James Walker and Beck Enders have said they'll make their announcements at a later date. Jackie Petrusma was very popular and she polled more than a quota in her own right at last year's election, so we've seen where some of her preferences are going. And Twitter analyst Kevin Bonham says that so far about 23% have gone to Beck Enders, and Beck also has the most personal vote. The TEC says the recount will take place on August 15, which means the Liberal Party will be missing a member in the first week of State Parliament when it resumes. However, Labor have offered them confidence. And it's been a big day in Tasmanian politics, and it's not just limited to the Liberal side. Today, Labor State Director Stuart Benson emailed all party members in the state telling them that the vote for party positions like President had been put off indefinitely until the state's review is being held down, or will be passed down, And senior Labor members have told 7 Tasmania News they now expect federal intervention in the Tasmanian branch. Kim?
Well, Hobart City Council ratepayers will soon be asked to cast their vote on the controversial push from UTAS to relocate its Sandy Bay campus into the CBD. The move comes after a petition calling for an elector poll successfully attracted more than 1,000 signatures. In the face of divided public opinion, the education provider has launched its new Shake-Up Committee to provide further consultation.
You have to ask, what is the point of having a consultation process if you know the outcome before you start.
Professor Sharp has confirmed she will not take part in the committee, fearing changes to the Grand Plan won't be considered. Virgin has grounded direct flights between Launceston and Adelaide after being bitten by rising fuel prices and sluggish demand. The airline plans to restore the route in December, but the local economy is likely to take a hit.
It's our link to the land of Fritz, Farmers Union and high-flying footballers. But unlike Tony Montra, Virgin is no longer soaring, instead pausing direct flights between Launceston and Adelaide for the next 6 months.
The load factors, or the amount of people travelling on each flight, has declined slightly.
The route launched to great fanfare in September, becoming the first direct connection between the cities in 20 years. The airline says the decision to put the service on hold has been a very difficult one, which was not taken lightly. Operational challenges, including a high-cost environment driven by sustained fuel price increases, led Virgin to make the difficult decision.
I really feel for our tourism sector. They're still in recovery after COVID. And it will mean a drop in tourism.
Right at the toughest time of year to attract visitors.
It's the quieter time. There's a lot of money invested in advertising our region.
Those booked on affected flights are being moved onto services connecting through Melbourne, adding around 90 minutes of travel time. The good news is Virgin is determined to restore the flight in December in time for the busy festive season. Launceston Airport doesn't want to stop there. It also wants to see direct links to Perth and the Gold Coast brought back as well.
At this stage, we're continuing to work with our airline partners on reinstating Perth and Coolangatta routes.
Hopefully giving Tasmanians more choice on where and when they fly. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
After being crowned the nation's top economic performer for 9 consecutive quarters, Tasmania has been dethroned in the CommSec State of the States report. With politicians scrambling to defend or attack our record, economists are urging caution over what the result means.
Once a nation leader, Tasmania is now firmly in the pack, slipping to 3rd in CommSec's State of the States report. However, it's not an absolute metric.
Rather, it seeks to measure most improved.
Charting our recent performances against decade averages. New leader Victoria is benefiting from a post-lockdown boom.
It was inevitable that Tasmania would at some point lose its #1 ranking.
Tasmanian business confidence still strong, but our housing market is on the come down after a lively few years. The state's treasurer says we're still firmly in the mix, saying these outcomes are fantastic and are consistent with what we know from ABS data, also spruiking our retail and goods export sectors. The opposition, however, not so confident.
We've got the state economy going backwards, and yet what we're probably going to hear from Michael Ferguson is that everything is fine.
Saul Eslake says the state's still facing multiple economic challenges, such as budget blowout, the need for tax reform and a poorly performing education system. His message?
It would be good if both sides of politics and others more broadly devoted more attention to addressing those challenges rather than trying to pick the eyes out of short-term reports like this.
Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
The last surviving sibling of Lucille Butterworth has revealed the pain he continues to live with more than 50 years on from his sister's disappearance. There's been no closure in their fight for justice, but her loved ones remain hopeful National Missing Persons Week will help reignite their plea.
She's the face behind one of Tasmania's most notorious cold cases. At just 20 years old, Lucille Butterworth was taken away from her family. It's a traumatic day her brother hasn't been able to forget.
Is there a day that goes by that you don't think about it?
No, definitely not. You could probably ask my wife that.
The Hobart model and bride-to-be vanished from a bus stop in 1969 on August 25. Since then, John has searched every corner of the state, with his parents never knowing what really happened to their daughter.
I promised Mum, before she passed away in 2008, that I would find out what happened to Lucille. And to sit here now, Grace, and we don't know.
The memory of Lucille lives on at this Claremont resting place, a spot her niece Michelle often finds peace in.
It means a lot to us actually, because this is only place we can come to remember Lucille virtually.
Pain of their loss was amplified when the Director of Public Prosecutions didn't proceed with criminal charges, despite a coronial inquest finding Jeffrey Charles Hunt responsible for her disappearance.
It was very disappointing. We were angry.
I was devastated. I really believed he would have been charged.
After police conducted a 2-week dig searching for clues back in 2015, this roadside memorial near New Norfolk was later established. Unfortunately, their efforts were unsuccessful, with no trace of Lucille ever found.
No, I just wish they'd found out what happened to her before my nan and my grandfather went. They'd just both died of broken hearts, really.
Ahead of National Missing Persons Week, Inspector Troy Morrisby wants the community to not underestimate the importance of new leads.
History says with investigations, not only within Australia but throughout the world, that sometimes it's the smallest pieces of information that can lead to the biggest breakthroughs.
His team remaining committed to the case.
My view is there's someone out there that knows where everybody is. The relevant question is that person still alive or not?
As the agonising wait for more answers continues.
That's what we want to do, is put it to rest. We can get on with our lives. Sure, everyone has to. No stone unturned, I'm not giving up.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's media sector is mourning the loss of Bob Cook. The iconic radio and TV presenter died over the weekend following a long period of ill health. Beginning on radio as a panel operator in 1963, his career spanned more than 4 decades. He is most remembered for his partnership with Richard Moore, which included 21 years together on breakfast radio, as well as hosting a breakfast television show. Bob Cook was 75. The clean-up in the state's northwest is gaining traction following last month's destructive storm on June 11. Operation Sheehan has commenced to bolster recovery efforts, with volunteers from Disaster Relief Australia lending a helping hand.
The clean-up in Kentish continues more than a month after wild weather left a trail of destruction, but the emotional impact will be felt for some time.
But it's also given us a little bit of PTSD in that every time we hear the wind pick up again, we start to think twice about what's going on. But hopefully this is a once in a lifetime event.
Paul's land destroyed by gale force winds reaching up to 200 kilometres per hour.
We were trapped on the driveway. We couldn't get out for 3 days.
The worst of the devastation far from over.
It's going to be a long process. It's going to take 6 or 7 months probably.
I'll be well and truly retired by the time it's finished. No, the clean-up is going to take a long time.
But with help from Disaster Relief Australia volunteers, the task ahead doesn't seem quite as daunting. Operation Sheehan, an additional clean-up to bolster efforts, is underway over the next 3 weeks to help the struggling community clear fallen trees.
We've got about 70 tasks at the moment, and we prioritise those tasks. We do damage assessments, and then we set the teams out.
15 volunteers made up of veterans, emergency services and civilians are hoping to make a difference to those doing it tough.
We love helping the community, and that's just, that's what we do it for, is to, to see that little bit of, hope come back in their eyes.
While Kentish Council is spending around $1.5 million to support the community.
The state government have released funds to reimburse council for some of our expenses, but we've asked for more of the government, which we haven't heard back on.
It's a long road ahead, and with fire season just around the corner, many fear fallen trees could pose a fuel load for the future. MAKENNA, BAILY, 7 Tasmania News.
A major change in who can give blood is hoping to ease the shortage of donations. Those who lived in the UK during the mad cow disease outbreak are now eligible to donate.
A 20-year ban finally lifted. People who lived in the UK during the mad cow disease outbreak now allowed to give blood.
It's a historic day, not just for Lifeblood, but for Australia and for those that have been impacted by the rules.
Newly eligible UK donor Emma Rowell is already doing her part and donating on day one.
It's just so exciting today that this is going to be the first time.
Emma moved from the UK to Australia in 2000 with hopes to roll up her sleeve.
My mum died actually in 1996, and she had several blood transfusions, and it was something that I wasn't able to help out with at the time. And so when I came to Australia, I was really interested in giving blood and doing a bit for the community, and it was incredibly frustrating not to be able to do it.
Between 1980 and 1996, donors that had spent 6 months or more in the UK in that time were unable to donate.
But today, many were welcomed through donation doors across Tasmania.
It's such an easy thing for us all to be able to donate and do something, and it costs us absolutely nothing, and it can mean the difference between life and death.
Lifeblood lifting the ban following approval from the Therapeutic Goods Administration.
Due to clinical research, we now know that the risk is very low, so we can now welcome these donors.
The announcement hoping to contribute up to 18,000 additional donations each year. A timely change with 750 donations needed across Tasmania in the next 2 weeks. MAKENNA, BAILY, 7 Tasmania News.
Jack Jumpers coach Scott Roth says there's no room for complacency ahead of pre-season training. The squad learning who they will play and when this morning, with the NBL releasing the fixture for the upcoming season.
After a whirlwind 2 years, Scott Ross says getting away from the game he loves over the off-season was critical.
TVs don't work on the beach, TVs don't work on my bicycle, and TVs don't work when I'm smoking cigars. I needed to just not be around basketball for quite a while, and that's what I tried to do.
Back in Tasmania ahead of pre-season, he says his Jacks will have to be hungry.
These guys will not come in satisfied or unmotivated to go do their jobs, and I'll make sure of that.
The new NBL season taking shape with the fixture released today. Season 2 begins on the road with a Saturday night trip to Melbourne to face the Phoenix, before a home game against Cairns 2 days later. The festive season will have a hoops feeling to it. Tasmania's success on Boxing and New Year's Day rewarded again.
I was so successful last year, so we thought we'd go again. I think the fans love Boxing Day and particularly love New Year's Day as well, so we're really happy to be looked after by the NBL.
The first grand final rematch is in December in Sydney, with the Jack Jumpers hosting the Kings on January 27. 2 home games will also be taken to the Silverdome against the Breakers and South East Melbourne. And with borders open, Tasmania will also cross the ditch for the first time.
It's a difficult process. I think it's really hard for the NBL to get it right for everybody, but I have no doubt that we'll have full crowds every game this season.
On court, the Jack Jumpers will consider a short-term replacement for the injured Clint Steindl, while the coach isn't giving any more thought to the Josh Adams issue.
We've just moved on, and it is what it is at the end of the day. It's kind of old news.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
In the TSL, Clarence is brimming with confidence as its late season charge continues to gather steam. The Roos stunned North Launceston at UTAS on Saturday, moving 2 games clear of the Northern Bombers in the race for a home final. One of their star players says the squad wants to show the competition they're no longer the easy beats.
You know, you go out each week and you want to show it up to these people that we are going to win and we are going to, come finals time, hopefully do a bit more.
Clarence will face North Hobart at Blunston Arena on Saturday. On to the Cripps TSL Player of the Year votes now after round 17. Angus Norton is on the board for North Hobart after the Demons took out the first Pride Cup over Glenorchy. Launceston's Brodie Palfreman is still in the hunt after gathering 21 disposals against Lauderdale. And OLLIE Preshaw bagged 6 goals for Clarence and the 3 votes in the match-up against North Launceston. Tallying it all up now, Sam Siggins is still on top, 2 clear of Joby Harper, trailed by Lovell, Palfreman and Cole. As the men's tour ends, the women's tour begins and 2 Tasmanians are thrilled to be there. ANYA LOUW and Nicole Frayne saddled up for the first of 8 stages, 12 laps of a 6.8 kilometre circuit of the Champs-Élysées. Frayne finished 12th in the sprint finish, while LOUW trailed nearly a minute behind.
Behind you is the Eiffel Tower. I've never even been to Paris before, so I'm just going to savour every moment.
The closing for the boys and the opener for the girls, and now the real racing starts.
Frayne secured a last-minute contract with a new team only a fortnight ago, enabling her to race in the Tour. The Northwest Jed Beaton remains mid-table in the MXGP. He managed to place 15th in race 2 in Belgium. And Nathaniel Atkinson has shown a deft touch in Scotland. The Riverside Olympic product helped Hearts hit the scoreboard after keeping the ball alive using the corner post.
Atkinson has it into the box, cut back, knocked towards goal, and it's deflected in!
Hearts won the friendly against Stoke 2-1.
Good evening. Hobart and Devonport 15 degrees today. Launceston and Strawn our warmest with 17, well above average, and Burnie had 14. The overnight low was -1 at Butler's Gorge. Flinders Island and Grove registered 16 degrees. King Island, Smithton, Low Head and St Helens all 14. Friendly Beaches 13 and Lyre-Weenie 7. Most of Tasmania had some cloud cover. More of the cumulus variety over the state. A little bit more of a uniform cloud band to the west. St Patrick's Head in the east. 10 millimetres of rain today. A frontal band of cloud extends from our southwest up over New South Wales with more cloud over southern South Australia and WA. Tomorrow a broad area of high pressure will dominate the mainland, but there is a trough over Queensland that pushes well to the south. We have a low centred over the northwest as well as the cold front moves to the east. Northeast to northwest winds shifting west-southwesterly over the north and west with winds reaching 30 to 40 knots over the northwest as well. Swells to 4 metres in western waters. We have a gale warning that's been issued for waters between Sandy Cape and Stanley and a strong wind warning for remaining waters except for the upper east coast. Into Tuesday we go, and Hobart, a few showers overnight, easing tomorrow, 15 the top, 13 the high for Adventure Bay, showers easing from Tarraleah, 12 the maximum. Launceston 14 degrees, showers clearing later, 13 the high for Devonport, showers easing also from Bridport with 13 the maximum. 13 for Burnie with showers. Strawn wet as well, 14 the top and 12 for Marrawar. St Helens tomorrow shooting for a high of 14 degrees with showers easing. Swansea 15, white mark on Flinders 13. Wednesday, showers firstly over the west and east and then developing later for other regions. Add some hail, thunderstorms and snow to 500 metres on Thursday as showers contract to the west and south. And on Friday, more snow expected, showers over the west and south but sunny patches over the north and northeast. A shower as well in Perth tomorrow. 19 the high, Adelaide 15, cold and showery for Melbourne, showers easing from Sydney 18 the maximum, and a sunny 25 in Brisbane. Current conditions cloudy and 13s all round, Hobart, Launceston and Devonport. Here we are Monday night, Kim, with a bit of wet weather due for the next couple of days. I have no motivation. You can add the spark at the end of the news.
Thank you. And I can see by the tie that the Swans won, so you should have a little bit more spring in your step or something. Thanks, Merv. That is all your news for now. Thanks for joining us. Louise will be with you over the next couple of nights. For now, it's good night.